Hi everybody, this is angelarts and welcome to another Let's Talk. So many of you, especially if you are Bioware fans, might have heard of an article that was posted recently as of the recording of this video from Kotaku. This person wrote an article on the conditions, the working conditions that's been happening in Bioware. I'll have a link to the article down below in case you haven't read it. But it's been a hot topic lately, and as somebody who is a huge fan of Bioware myself, as many of you probably know based on the number of Let's Plays I've been doing and analyzing and things on my channel, I wanted to take some time to talk about it. And in addition to that, I have two people who are in the Discord community of mine who wish to join me in the discussion. We have Adam and Bio. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Why don't we start by having you guys introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit or as much about yourself as you'd like. And if you want to tell us about your YouTube channels, you're welcome to it. Adam, why don't you go first?
My name is Adam. My current latest reboot of a YouTube channel is Cool Cucumber. That's with a K, 2 zeros, and an L because I'm special, I guess. And I'm going to be running Star Trek Kobbled on that channel with a lot of the Discord community from angelarts. So I hope you guys check that out if you're interested. For me, I live in the Midwest. I live in Kansas. So there's nothing here. If I turn my camera around, you'd see flat.
Thank you, Adam. Bio, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm BioGundam. My YouTube channel mostly covers like anime, manga, games, Japanese otaku kind of nerd culture and just nerd culture in general. I'm also part of a podcast that talks about light novels. I'm also on another podcast called the Pseudo Intellectual Podcast, where we discuss deep and thought-provoking discussions such as how does paint dry? And if Nietzsche was so smart, why did he die? Find more answers at 11. And I come from New Zealand, and I just I wander around in real life and in virtual. I just hang around. I just go where the memes are essentially, and yeah, that's basically about it. I just exist.
Okay, thank you so much, Bio. Cool. So the floor is pretty much open. I don't know if there's anything specific from the article you wanted us to jump right into first.
There is something I do want to tackle about, for Anthem's development, because the impression I'm kind of getting is that, especially with the higher ups, is that no one really gave a shit about making this game. I mean, these workers, they have there's no direction, no leadership. It's because there's no one to motivate them or tell them which way to go. They don't know which way is Alpha or Martha. It's just like, no, don't design this. It's just like, oh, wait, we got a better idea. Do this now. Oh, no, do this. And a ship only runs as good as the people who are leading it. And if the leader is shit, then the crew can't, operate correctly because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
There's no figurehead. And it seems like no one in the leadership really cared. And, you want people to be hyped and excited for this game. And, I looked at it. It was like, oh, cool. This is cool. It's like Iron Man suits. You can fly around. And it's like a looter shooter. And it's like, a lot of fun. But how can the people who are working on the game get excited if the leaders or the people, who are, leading the charge aren't getting excited either? It's just it's just another you're supposed to leaders are supposed to motivate people, and it seems like the people in this, the people who are working and putting in the doing all the nitty gritty, they're not being motivated, they're not being utilized correctly, and I just feel like that the leadership team just didn't really give a shit.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I actually am a software developer or software engineer myself. Not in video games, but I do know a lot of people, a bunch of my colleagues, even in my current job, who have worked in the video game industry as well. And I've heard a lot of stories, this similar stories to what was put in this article. I mean, I know a lot about the steps of stakeholders and product team and getting things like designed and all that good stuff from beginning to end. And it's different from video games to a degree, but it's really similar. So I read this article, and unfortunately, this is something that is not just unique to one video game company. Just recently, we saw Telltale Games, for example, close down with, again, horrible conditions and decision making from the higher ups and from the management, which ultimately led it to its final demise. So that definitely seems to be a very running theme in these situations. What do you think, Adam?
I have to agree with you, Hart. I mean, it's really sad, but even in the indie market with games like Mighty Number 9, you see it a lot too, where somebody gets either over ambitious or just undirected ambition, shattered direction. And you just see these horror stories come out where the person who suffers the most are the people who are contributing the most to the game. Mm-hmm. Writers, the storyboarders, the programmers, obviously, the testers. I mean, my heart goes out to all of those people. And when I was reading the article myself, I picked up on something. Back before it was called what it became when it was called Beyond, that game already exists. It's called Xenoblade Chronicles X. It literally already exists. And it does kind of ring true to me that it's like nothing is completely original, but that doesn't mean it can't be great. I mean, just look at all the flood of awesome collectathon platformers in the late 90s to early 2000s that there were. Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, Rareware's in the same circumstances, Bioware too. Now I'm going to go cry. I'll be back. I'm kidding. I'm here. But, man, this just, it reeks of an industry standard, man. And it's not pleasant for any of us. Because we care a lot about BioWare. We care a lot about the games. The characters are a part of our lives. And they're dying.
Yeah. Just to add to that point, I actually grew up as a young teenager playing Dragon Age Origins. That was my shit. I played Dragon Age 2. I played Dragon Age, and yeah, I see it. Yeah, that game was the fucking shit. And what's great about it is it's a you can tell that during the game people had fun making this game. People enjoyed making this game, and throughout the entire game, there's all these other features. When you go explore, a town or a ruin, you find these books or sheets of paper that gives you lore and stuff. And maybe in the game or in a future game, you'll actually see what that lore was talking about. So it's oh, what's a rage demon? Oh, there's one right there. Oh, I heard about this. So this is what this is. And it's like Dragon Age is like a passion project almost. You could tell the people cared. They want to tell the story of this epic adventure. Oh, the world is crumbling down. The gods are falling. There's dragons. There's all sorts of all these cool things. And if Anthem is just we've got Iron Man suits. Yay. Anthem doesn't get you hyped. When I saw the Dragon Age trailers, they get you hyped. You see the one trailer when you've got Mortimer is every motherfucker get ready and the ready. It gets you hyped. You see the battle scenes. You see one of the Grey Wardens jump on one of the ogres and slice. It gets you pumped. But none of the Anthem trailers really got me pumped. It's just oh yeah, it's the Iron Man video game. They can fly around and they're shooting and there's loot and giant monsters.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a huge. I think a big issue was many of the developers in this article said that nobody really knew what this game was even supposed to be, because it seemed like the concept of what this game was supposed to become just kept changing all the time, and a lot of people, there were a lot of pots, a lot of hands going into a lot of different pots. and so it never really got a chance to really become focused. And I think that was a huge reason why that over this course of 6 years, they really didn't get anything done, at least for like the first 4.5.
Like why didn't they just have like one team just work on it consistently throughout those 6 years? And if they want to add more stuff, then they can go like, okay, we've got the basic product down. What do you want to add now? I've got an idea. Let's add more monsters. Let's add more like lore things. Let's add more lore sheets. Let's add more weapons. Let's add more variety. Let's do all this stuff later. But like get the core basics down first, but when you're making a game, and then start expanding. Like back to like the Dragon Age Origins example. I mean, Dragon Age Origins is a complete game, all right? You don't need any of the DLC to get the full experience out of it, but you don't need the DLC to get the full package and experience out of Dragon Age Origins. But when you get the DLC, it's just adding to the game and adding to the lore, and you get cooler weapons and cooler armor, and you look kick-ass, and you get even cooler power. You even get more powers as well. So, like, just start from somewhere basic and then add on later, not just go like, oh, we need this. Oh, we need this. Oh, no, wait, scrap that. We're now doing this.
There were a lot of reasons why that ended up not happening. There were many factors, one of which were the original people who were the brainchild, who actually had the vision and who had the direction, left. They left BioWare. And with it, that initial idea or concept. And so they had to, like, redesign themselves. The people who were left had to sort of reinvent the wheel again. Then other factors that played in was the other side projects that were going on. And by side projects, I mean Mass Effect Andromeda, which wasn't doing very well either during its development phase. So they had to beg, borrow, and steal people back and forth among the other offices, and Anthem as well.
Wasn't Mass Effect Andromeda like a buggy mess when it released? Like, I remember seeing clips of like someone's head going through, or like just nothing but eyes and teeth. Like, that was scary.
Mass Effect Andromeda was a sinking ship, and so that didn't help Anthem's development either, because you've got this other team who's got this sinking ship and they're desperately asking for help. You've got this team who has having problems of their own, and so that was a recipe for disaster. And then, of course, there were other technical issues. For example, using the Frostbite engine, because EA decided that they wanted pretty much as many of their games as possible to be using the Frostbite engine. But the problem is the Frostbite engine was not really made for these kind of games, for BioWare games. So they were essentially trying to fit, a round peg in a square hole, or a square hole in a round peg, or something along those lines.
Yeah, like different gaming engines have different uses. Like, for example, various programming languages have different uses. It's not going to work. You can try until the cows come home, but it won't work because that's how computers are.
Adam, what do you think?
Well, it's kind of a pseudo off topic, but it's also not. Whenever I read about the article and I heard about this, I had like inverse flashbacks to the Metroid Prime 4 situation that just unfolded, where Nintendo canned all their development because they didn't like the way the game was turning out. And I remember seeing a reviewer who was talking about that, who was naturally sad, because of course everybody was. But he mentioned that showed a lot of that gave them a lot of respect for Nintendo willing to do that, because a company like EA wouldn't. They would take an incomplete product and say, it'll make some money.
Mm-hmm. I also think that's from like a cultural standard as well, because like in Japan, honor is a very like big thing. And if like say something like Nintendo sold a product that wasn't exactly as like advertised, it can definitely turn off a lot of people because it's not exactly what you promised, and they actually have standards, unlike EA that just seems to be like, let's make money. And then like Nintendo's just like, let's make money, but also really quality games because that's what we promised people.
Mm-hmm. It seemed one thing that was brought up on the article multiple times was what they referred to as BioWare magic. So what is BioWare magic? BioWare magic is no matter how hard things seem to be, with everything is blowing up and hitting the fan, for some reason it all just works out in the end. You know, somehow everything just comes together and they unleash an amazing product. And one good example of this was Dragon Age Inquisition. Arguably, depending who you ask, but arguably it was relatively well received.
You're right.
And you know, one of BioWare's like more successful titles in recent years. But the really sad thing is that their development process was also horrible, and the conditions apparently were terrible as well. So much so that the developers themselves wished, they hoped that Dragon Age Inquisition would fail so that it would show leadership and management that this is not how you should, you know, develop a game. This is not how you should manage this game. It's unacceptable. But it succeeded. And so that told management, see, that's that BioWare magic. I told you everything would just, you know, I told you everything would work out in the end. And then Andromeda happened, and then Anthem happened, and all of a sudden it seemed like that BioWare magic, I guess, kind of ran out for them.
One of the reasons why I bought Dragon Age Inquisition is I wanted to see where the story was going. Because like where number 2 left off, it's just like the city's on fire, mages and Templars are fighting all across the world, and your character is at the very center of it, and it's like, holy shit, where are they going to go through from here? And it's like, Inquisition time! And it's like, oh, this sounds awesome. Plus, you get to play as a Kunari, which I wanted to play as a Kunari, because, you know, the Horn dudes, they're pretty cool. Like, you know, I played it for that reason. You know, I had fun playing it.
It's a good reason. I mean,
yeah. But, like, I played it for the story and the characters because I wanted to see where it goes. The gameplay was kind of... I was a bit iffy on some things. Like, I preferred how combat was in Dragon Age 2. Because I liked it because it made you feel more epic. And it flowed better. Even though I actually... You know, I just preferred, like, the combat in Dragon Age 2. Yeah. Because it just flowed better. And it felt like you were actually some sort of, like, adventuring badass.
Yeah. But it just seems really, really unfortunate that developers actually wanted it to fail. I mean, that was how bad things seemed to be even back then. Adam, what your thoughts on that?
Well, you hear this happening with other companies. Like, again, I'll bring up Nintendo. I'll bring up the Super Smash Brothers games. The guy who's been producing that, I feel really bad because I can't remember the name. That guy, he's on my Mount Rushmore of game developers, and I can't remember his name. But basically works himself half to death every time a new Smash Brothers comes out. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's really, really different and a lot more admirable for the head of a project to do that than for them to squeeze the lifeblood out of the workers like they're lemons.
It's that Japanese work. It's that Japanese Japanese workplace mentality.
Some of it, yeah, I think some of it can certainly be cultural, but as somebody who's a developer himself, I know how dangerous it can be for someone, not just emotionally and psychologically, but physically too, if you're being overworked. And
it's also possible that he really cares about his product and he wants to make a good product. Like, cultural lens aside, I mean, it could be that he's just a really passionate person about his product, and if it's not good, then it ain't getting released.
Yeah, I think being passionate about your project is one thing, but I don't think that necessarily was the case for BioWare. When people claim that they had to run over to a room and lock themselves in a room and start crying, being very depressed, I don't think that's working for your passion. And so that, I think, is very different.
It sounds like you're being held at gunpoint, being forced to code.
Yeah, I think that is a completely different thing. And the response that BioWare gave, or at least some representative that BioWare gave in response to the article, I felt was completely missing the point. It didn't even seem like whoever wrote it really understood or probably didn't even read the entire article because they seemed to missed the point. One of the things that they said was articles like this like harm the gaming industry, and I wholeheartedly disagree with that because these things this is just, you know, things that people have actually reported. There are tons of other cases in the video game industry that we don't even know about, and mostly because not enough people have spoken up and not enough of these articles are being written. Now, especially with Telltale, for example, recently, we're being made more and more aware of these kinds of situations and things. And I think that this is not, I don't think these developers are saying all these things to trash talk their fellow like leadership. I don't think ultimately what they're trying to do is to shut down BioWare or backlash at BioWare. I think this is a cry for help. I think they are asking for help and they want things.
Well, honestly, if you have employees literally getting off their desk, stopping work, and crying in a room, then clearly something is wrong.
Yeah, something is wrong. And
I know that there are some people who are a bit sensitive and sometimes need to time themselves. That's fine. But like, if a majority of your staff are literally crying and like putting themselves in the panic room, like clearly there's something. That's not a good workspace. Like, how can you work if the dude next door is crying his eyes out?
Yeah.
Or screaming to the high hills. That ain't exactly a work environment you want to come in. And it seems like I'm not blaming the leadership. It just seems like the leaders that were in charge just didn't really notice or didn't really care. It's like, oh, there's Mary again to the panic room. Oh, there's George. Make sure you get back to work in 10 minutes. See you later.
Yeah.
You know, Hark, I'm really glad that you mentioned that, actually, because I think it actually hints towards a possible solution to all of this mess. And that is the potential of unions. Unfortunately, with the political and business environment that we deal with, especially in the United States, forming unions is extremely hard and extremely dangerous because a corporate entity might see a union and say, "Ooh, rabble-rousers, better can them." But we need those unions to be able to make sure the workers have human rights at their jobs.
Yeah. It's tough because there's so much pressure in the video game industry. You know, you've got deadlines. I mean, I have deadlines at my job, but it's nothing like what goes on in the video game industry. Entertainment is a lot of entertainment is about timing, and if you're not the first to do something, or if you're not the first to prove that you came up with this idea or concept and made it way to the finish line, that can cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for the stakeholder. So, and ultimately it could cost you your career, your job. And so, it's really, really a very tough position to be in.
I do want to add something that maybe I think some of these people are looking at the short term. Because, like, for example, like a really good game, I'm going to use an example, Persona 3. Like, that is a really good game. And I've actually played it on a PS2 emulator, and it's still good today. All right? And you know, you could buy it on, like, the PSP or whatever they've got now, you know, App Store and stuff. I think you can buy it on PlayStation 4, I think. I don't know. But, you know, you have like on Xbox One and, you know, PlayStation 4, you still have access to some of these really old games, really classic old man games that are still making money even now. And, you know, in a 40K HD realistic graphics, holo-vision, augmented reality. All right? Like, yeah, some of these games may be short term, they may do badly, but maybe in the long term they do super well. You know? Like, a good game is a game that stays forever. I mean, look at Dragon Age. I mean, look at Dungeons and Dragons, Vampire the Masquerade. I mean, these series have been around for ages, and you know, what keeps them around is because people grew up on them, but also they're good quality games. So
go ahead.
So I feel like some of these like shareholders and stockholders, it's like, oh no, we lost $2 this week. You know, I think they need to vision in the long term, not always focus on the short term.
Do
I mean,
you think? Go ahead.
if you look at games like Fallout, the new Fallout game, you know, Take
Fallout
Me Home,
76.
Country Roads, like who the fuck is playing that now? Like nobody. That game is just that game crashed and it's just falling.
Would you
Like,
say falling out?
It's falling out. I would say that.
It's just
yes.
it's just like in 10 years, no one is going to remember Fallout 76. But you know what is going to be remembered in 10 years? People will remember Devil May Cry 5. People will remember Persona 5. Heck, people will probably still remember Persona 4, maybe Persona 3. All right, maybe some people will remember what's another good game? Dragon Age Origins. People will remember these games and still buy them. All right, like who cares if the graphics are a little shitty?
Yeah,
who cares?
I agree with
If
you,
the
Bob.
gameplay and story is good, then you know who cares. Like I played Persona 3, not exactly the best graphics, but the gameplay was cool. You know, the story was cool. You know, it's a JPRPG, and you're like fighting these shadows. You know, school life adventures, and oh no, it's the Avatar of Death. Burn my dread. You know, like, and also the themes and the characters. You still remember that stuff, but with Anthem or Fallout, no one's gonna remember. And that's my spiel done.
Yeah, Bio, I completely agree with you. And not to mention the recent success of games like Bio Reignited and the Crash Insane trilogy. They're literally just shinier versions of games from way back in the day, simplistic games at that. And Spyro Reignited sold way better than Fallout 76.
Well, it's because people grew up on that shit. I mean, I grew up on Digimon, and I have it on DVD now. Like, I grew up with like the original Digimon adventure. Like, it came out like a couple of years later after you guys had in the United States, but I grew up on that stuff. And I still have it because I enjoy it because I grew up on it. And, you know, I'm still going to remember Digimon 5 years, 10 years from now.
So, do you guys think that the fault, if you wanted to put fault in anything, do you think the fault lies more in EA or BioWare, the company? Where do you...
I feel like it's a multifaceted problem and there's not truly one answer because there's a lot of layers to look at and dissect it. But I kind of feel that one of the major problems is A, no one gave a fuck about this game. B, you know, directionless leadership. And I also think that C, that there's like motivating factors, either it's from BioWare or EA, that's just telling them to rush, keep going. We need to pump this out now. You know, not looking in the long-term effects. I mean, the short-term effects is, I mean, what have they got? A game that's shit, their reputation is even more down the toilet. They've got employees crying their eyes out in the next room over. When the long-term, you know, if I'm thinking the long-term, it's like, okay, we're going to take our time with this game and we're going to release a great game. It may not sell well at the beginning, but we're just going to have to be patient and wait, all right? Like, I'm part of, like, a light novel podcast, okay, see? And usually for the first, like, 24 hours, we'll get, like, maybe 100, 200 views. And then within a week, usually a couple of thousand. Like, you know, you just, you know, these, I think a majority of these corporations need to learn how to be patient. You know, there's greater gains than having money now. Just having money, you know, just having a quick cash flow now.
Adam, how about you? Do you think that this is more BioWare or more EA or what?
Honestly, what happened now with Anthem recently, I do shoulder a little bit more of it on the leadership at BioWare. But what comes next, I'm going to hold EA accountable for 100%.
Why do you say that?
Because what I think comes next is the end of BioWare.
So you think that this, are you saying Dragon Age 4 may not be a thing anymore? Is that what you're predicting?
Unfortunately, I mean, when I heard about Anthem and when I heard about Andromeda, I got really serious flashbacks to Rareware, which I mentioned before. And we were all super excited for Banjo 3.
Yeah. I am, to a fault, blissfully naive and optimistic. So I'm holding on to hope that they're at least going to see Dragon Age 4 as BioWare's last chance, last and only chance, to prove that they can turn the ship around and not only come out with a good game, but one that was developed with a bit more decency and concern for all of the people who worked so hard on the game. So there's a lot of things that can be done in order for them to do that, but there's a lot of healing wounds that are happening at the moment. I know that both of you actually started providing some solutions to this issue, like, for example, unions. Do you guys have other thoughts on possible solutions to this problem?
Well, it's extremely risky and extremely dangerous, but if EA were to destroy BioWare, and I know that hurts just to say it, there is the possibility that they could try to pull a Platonic and try to still continue to create off-brand versions of Dragon Age, BioWare, etc., much like Yooka-Laylee. I didn't personally love Yooka-Laylee, but it still gave me hope. I do like to hold on to hope, but it becomes hard, man.
Mm-hmm. Bio, do you have any thoughts on that?
Most of my ideas is just like, reorganizing their leadership structure, and like they'd have to do like a lot of internal fixing. Like, for example, reorganizing their leadership structure and stuff, because it's not the workers that's the problem, it's the leadership. There's no one at the helm. And it doesn't help when you have like EA and their stockholders breathing down these managers' necks and the workers, because that puts unnecessary stress on them, which means they're not having fun developing the game, which means the game will suck, and then no one will buy it, and then the shareholders will be breathing down your neck even more.
Yeah,
I think. Go ahead.
All of my love, all of it goes out to the workers, the employees that were suffered. I'd give each and every one of them a slimy ew hug. Every single one of them.
Yeah. I think that in order for wounds to heal and a solution to arrive is the first step to a solution is admitting you have a problem. And based on, again, the response that BioWare's representative gave in response to this article, kind of shows me that they still have a long way to admitting that they have a problem. I hope that they take the article seriously ultimately. Maybe they are taking it seriously internally, and this response was just trying to do some damage control. But hopefully behind the scenes, they actually are. They're taking a very serious look at how they're managing their teams and trying to actually get feedback from their employees, taking that very necessary cultural survey or cultural examination. Because we have that at my job all the time. We always have a culture amp survey to find out, what is it about our jobs we love, and what is it about our jobs we hate, and what is it that makes us look forward to coming to work versus not looking forward to coming to work. I hope that they take those necessary steps, because if they don't, they can't keep relying on this BioWare magic all the time, because it's not going to be enough. And I think the last two games have shown that it's not. So I'm hoping, if any of the BioWare employers are watching, and I don't know if they necessarily would, if things are getting better, please talk about it or tweet about it or do something, because it'd be nice for us as fans to know that things are turning around and that they're taking this seriously and that things are at least moving in the direction to get better. Because I think that would be really helpful right now. But that's just my thought.
Angel, I just linked a meme in the chat. It's the latest thing. Like, go share the screen with that one. I think it's a good indication of like BioWare's condition right now.
This is fine. Yes.
I
Very,
agree
very.
with the events that are unfolding around me currently.
Yeah. Cool. Do you guys have any other thoughts?
No, I've just kind of done my bit, you know, like bad leadership, short-sightedness, no one gave a shit about this product. I feel is one of the major contributing factors, but that's just from my perspective.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Adam? Do you have any final thoughts?
I mean, as rough as what I said was, I think that somebody out there does need to hear it if they're going to steer this ship in the right direction. Because we all want BioWare to survive. We want Dragon Age 4. We want Dragon Age 8. We want you to become the new Square Enix and just keep on shoveling out more awesome games. We don't care.
Yeah, I want them to bring back the combat system from Dragon Age 2 because I hate the fact I can't be a dual-wielding warrior. Also, can we at least have halberds and more medieval weapons added into the setting as well, please?
Give me a trebuchet. Just let me waltz into battle with a giant catapult.
Also, what kind of medieval society has sword and shield but no sword and spears? What the hell?
That would be neat. I agree.
You know, change up the fighting styles. I mean, if you're gonna please, with Dragon Age 4, at least add more weapons and more combat style varieties. Because I'm sick of just using like sword and shield or two-handed. At least give me a halberd or a pike.
So if any Bioware people are still listening, we want more sword and spears, please, and thanks.
Honestly, for me, the story's right. If the story's good, I can run into battle with a sling and a club. I don't care. Just keep making awesome games. Treat your people right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's the most important takeaway here is to people are people.
Well said. Well said, Adam. All right, guys, thank you. I know we've only scratched the surface of what the article said. There are tons more that we could have talked about, but we could easily spend the next several hours chatting about it. I just wanted to have some platform to at least start the conversation, at least started, because I think these kinds of conversations need to happen. So if you guys have any thoughts yourselves about what's been going on, please feel free to put them down in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys, whether you are huge, longtime fans of BioWare or not. And yeah, I hope that whatever happens from here is going to be a much better experience, not just for the fans' sake, but for everyone, again, who has been working so hard to try to bring us games that we care about and we enjoy, and hopefully we'll treasure in the years to come. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, love yourselves and love each other.